living in there, such as cockroaches and ants. Now, they don't like moist conditions, but the worms do. So there's the added extra benefit of taking the liquid and being able to use it through our garden. So I simply just recycle the water coming out of the bottom, only to 2 or 3 times, and that's just to increase the strength of the worm weed that we're making. So you just basically pour it into the top, make sure that the whole surface is covered, and then that keeps the material nice and wet and nothing else wants to live in it.
So can we have a look inside the worm farm and just to get a bit more of an example of what we should be doing and
Certainly.
what sort of, just watched the light there just went out, but that's cool.
I'd love to show you inside. So this is the material. Now there's a few little tricks that you can learn.
This is the material that we just looked at, is it?
It is. So this is the finished compost from the compost piles, and this was really just to trigger the response in the reproduction of the worms. So we want the worms to lay lots of eggs. I use this bit of old damp smelly cloth to keep the moisture in and allow the evaporation cycle to happen, cooling the worms. If I squeeze the material, you want to be able to see droplets of water around your hand. Now there's a fair bit of wood chip in this, so I can't actually get a good squeeze on it, but we'll be able to find some more material soon, and you'll be able to see how much moisture we're actually looking for.
So when we add water to the bin to collect the leachates and obviously to keep the worms more moist, how often should we do it?
You're looking at a minimum of once a week. Now during summer you'd probably be looking at a couple of times during that week. Now we're looking at probably anywhere from 1 litre to 5 litres, depending on if you're actually using the liquid through your garden or if you're just trying to keep the worm farm wet.
Oh, look at this trolley, guys, that's awesome. Future story, going to be hopefully getting out to the locals and selling some food that I'm growing here on the micro farm. But today, what we're doing is we're talking about some wormery hacks. Now, some people were really interested in my last video, got some good results, picked up a few subscribers, and people are really interested. So I thought, why not extend it on and give you a top hack today on the big boy. The big one down here. Now, you can use this in the small worm farms as well. Doesn't have to be for the big systems, but we're going to go down here and have a look at the big boy. I think, where is it? I'm just down there. There it is. Let's go and have a look at it. I'll show you one of the hacks. Now, one of these hacks has been shown a while before, but we're always improving on things. So let's move down there. I'm going to give you a look, and I reckon you can implement something like this at home. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, just the concept and keeping your worms happy and healthy will help you go miles and leaps ahead than you ever thought you could. So we'll just get this screen off because I've been using it to screen the compost, and we got quite a lot of orders today, and so yeah, $25 screen on top of a wheelbarrow works really good. Now, newspaper and cardboard and egg cartons play a really big role in the big bad boy here. Now the reason being is because what it does is it soaks up. So you really got to soak it in a bin or something like that, a lot of water, and then put it on top of your bedding. Now I've got a multiple sort of style of composts in this bedding because I'm making a compost bedding that I can actually sell to the market that grows really great food, and at the same time breeding up my worms. So I've got more, they're feeding on it, they're dropping their biology and their castings and things like that, making it even better. But I've got to take care of them because I am a farmer, or we are farmers if you're farming worms. Now what I do is I put the compost bedding, right, and I start putting thick layers of newspaper on top, boom, 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 then another thin layer of compost. I've got mushroom on top, right, and then I've put egg cartons on top. Now, someone said to me in America they only got plastic egg cartons. I thought that's really sad that that's the case. So if that's the case, just rip up lots of newspaper. Just rip it up and make like this sort of like a leaf style bedding on top, and that will really work. Now what happens is when we put the layers on top and they come up and start touching it, they get the moisture and go across their skin, and it keeps them cool It keeps the temperature at an even rate, and they go through the layers, lay their cocoons. They feel safe there when they're dropping their cocoons in there, and they know that their little babies are going to be safe from predators as well. Now, don't think that these little tiny creatures that have got this tiny little brain are stupid. They are at the bottom of the feeding chain. They know that, and they know they are susceptible to being eaten, basically. That's why we open the light up and they go down, because they're like, hey, attack, we're getting attacked. Not only is the sun burning us, but we might get eaten. So when you're providing these layers, absolutely beautiful. Now, in the big bad boy, which I'm calling it at the moment, the big bad boy, I have egg cartons on top, and I mentioned in the video. Now, if you haven't seen the wormery video, I'm going to leave a card up here for you. If you're in YouTube, you'll be able to see it there. And I've put the egg cartons on top because one of the problems is that it's deep, and the water wasn't soaking through enough. So the egg cartons, I fill them up full of water, and then they slowly just let the water into the system and move through the profile, and I keep filling it up until eventually they start breaking it down, and I rip them up. My friends save them for me, which is really great because we eat a few eggs here, but it's not enough, so I get them as people bring them to church, which is absolutely brilliant. I get big racks of them and stuff, and off we go. I'm doing it over and over and over again, so I just fill them up, it soaks through, it becomes worm food later on, and it allows water to move through that profile, and eventually I can harvest down at the bottom, which is really, really cool. So there's the hack for today. Well, it's a series of hacks about creating this bedding at the top to keep your worms really happy. And remember, you can do this if you want to take it to the next level in your small worm farms as well as big systems such as you're working at and the wormery. And it'll also, if you've got like a big system like mine, when you're creating those layers like that, it makes it harder for rats and mice and things to dig through, because they dig through a little bit of soil and they hit a hard bit of newspaper that's quite thick, and they're like, oh, they've got to extend a lot of energy, so then they've got to run to the sides and try to get underneath, and they just give up. Animals are all about how much energy they can put out to get, how much energy they've got to put out to get back in for the food source. And if it's too much of a hassle, they just go somewhere else. And remember, with mice and stuff, you can just sprinkle around a bit of chili powder as well around the outside. Any mammals, up their nose, boom, they're out of here. They won't forget that. So anyway, there's some cool hacks for you today. Hopefully that'll help you with your worm farming at your wormery. Stay tuned for Marty's Garden. If you live locally, come and pick up some compost. We've got some plants that are growing too, and things are just really happening. All right, have a great day. Happy everything. God bless, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now.
Okay, we're going to have a look at my compost. This is a finished compost, and this is a compost that I love to use for my worms, particularly when I'm ready for the worms to lay some eggs. So what's so good about this compost? Well, the first thing is it's a hard carbon wood chip compost, meaning that there's just a lot of wood chip which I collect from the local area. Now there's a few different places that you can get your hands on this. Some places you can get it for free, some places you can buy it by the truckload. Either way, it contains a lot of native material such as lily pillies and acacia. So the worms love this stuff because it adds bulk, it adds air through your garden, so the worms can get in there and they can lay eggs, and it allows all sorts of different habitat for other organisms and microbiology that thrive in your garden. The worms like this because it offers a very natural environment, and it allows the native worms to come up through it. It contains lots of leaf, it contains lots of bark, and these are all the good things on a forest floor that the worms love to eat, and we're basically just trying to replicate that. So this material takes about 4 weeks to get to this stage, and then the worms will eat it for another 2 weeks. So between around about 6 to 8 weeks you can get a finished compost into your garden ready to go, and the worms will be able to take your garden to the
Tell you what, this is exciting, guys. The next stage of Marty's Garden worm farm. Yep, the pods, well not the pods, they're the biggest worm farm ever systems, set up with compost around the outside of them, put with bales around the outside to hold it all together, because they can break down, get turned into mushroom compost again, not mushroom compost, but get recomposted again, use them as grow beds on top like the bale system, and eventually it'll just all connect up to the forest, the fruit trees, the whole lot, and I'll have this interconnected web of fungi, great biology, and all the worms just building this soil profile. So every time it rains, it just soaks down well, and it's just chewing up all that humus and turning it into nutritious plant food, and I don't have to worry about buying stuff. I absolutely love this system. And beautiful thing about it is behind me, these big pods, well, I should keep calling them pods, they're not pods, they're big compost bins that hold anywhere from 175 to 400 litres, the ones you can get. They make awesome worm farms that are connected to the ground, because the plastic absolutely, it condensates, and they like to climb up and down the plastic on the side, grabbing the moisture. They move through the material, chewing it up, turning it into beautiful worm castings. The fungi moves through the bottom and actually attaches itself to the carbon material. We end up with a beautiful blend of compost that I can sell to the locals here. And as far as Brisbane they come, so yeah, 2 hours drive, hour and a half drive to come and pick up some of these compost. And if that's you, thank you so much for your support so far. Now, this type of micro farming has been in development by myself for quite a few years now, and it's taken me a while to get there. And you don't really need a huge space to do this. And there's so many ways you can go with the worm farming type of things. You can do the composting like me, you can sell compost worms, you can sell worm castings, you can sell the juice, and you can use it, all those byproducts as well, to build and establish a garden at the same time. And while you're building and establishing a garden, you're growing food, so your costs are just coming down and down and down and down and down and down and down, and you're living healthy because your food quality is going up and up and up and up and up. And I think that's just an absolute bonus. Now, if you've got any questions about this, let me know in the comments box down below. Love to share more about the story of what's going on here as I'm expanding out the little micro farm here and turning it into a little food forest paradise right here at Mullumbimby in New South Wales, Australia. Also, I'm building the Worm Wranglers 2.0 course, so that's really exciting, and that's going into the members area, the community, over at my new website, where we've got like a Facebook social feed and areas to put courses and things like that. The guys in there, they're just rolling along and making some great stuff and sending me out content of what they're doing in their yards and their progress and their success, and it's really great to see. So that's going into the course. Let me know if you'd like to see anything in that course. So it's going to be a beginner, then going into intermediate, and then to more advanced stuff eventually. And it's all going to be inside there. So looking forward to seeing you. There's a link in the description down below if you want to jump in early and check it out while it's being built. I may share the progress as we go, but it's definitely in the pipeline. It's being started, and super stoked to do that. All right, thank you so much for coming on this amazing journey with me. It's been very eye-opening, and we're really just at the beginning stages here. Anyway, have a great day. Happy gardening / worm farming. God bless. We'll see you at the next video real soon. Look at this hand. Look at this hand. See this hand? Flexi hand. Bye for now. Have you ever heard of an organic system that grows food, makes money, farms worms, makes compost, improves the land, and only has around about 5% waste? Actually, maybe 0.5% waste, because it keeps recycling in on itself. Well, I'm going to show you exactly my system that I've got here that I've been developing for Exo Organics. Let's get into this, shall we? So here it is, my front yard, where it's improving all the time. The soil, it's making money. It's bringing people in off the street. They're going, wow, they're getting the wow factor. To me, this is super exciting. And I'm just really, oh look, I'm beyond excited to get this going because it's been years in the making, around about 7 years actually. Check this out guys, food growing along the side of the compost bale. Yes, a cherry tomato, a dwarf one, some strawberries, we've got some parsley, we've got vertical cucumbers, and we've been harvesting bok choy out here, or pok choy as I like to call it, for a long time, and it just keeps on giving. Well, how does it all work? Well, it depends on the size and scale that you want to go to. I've got a small system here with around about 10 to 12 bays around the outside of it, and I can fit a couple of square meters into the side, so a couple of cubic feet, and it performs extremely well. Now you do need to cure the bales if you want to grow in them, so you've got to wet them down a little bit, start putting compost on top, and then slowly, as it starts digesting down into the system, planting into it. Smaller root crops and things at first, and then larger ones. Now you can plant bigger ones around the outside that will throw roots underneath the system, like I've done with this tomato system here, well, tomato plant. Now this is all part of the exo-organic system that I've been developing, remember, and it works a treat. Now the next part is when you're composting in the middle and you're improving that soil here, you can actually, when you pull that away and you move that whole system, that soil has been fed, the worms and microbes and fungi and everything's already moved in there. It's seeping down, so when it's raining and you're watering it, you're turning it, there's nutrients seeping down into the soil profile, so you can move that whole thing away eventually and plant a veggie garden or a big fruit tree there or anything like that, and just keep making it better and better. And the only waste from this is a couple of ties that are around the bales that I use again to then tie up my cherry tomatoes and things and stuff that I need to vine out. So nothing goes to waste on site, and as I said, I just keep getting more and more excited. Now, what I'm going to do is take you out the back where we're building the second system, which contains the worm farm system area. And it's just an extension of this. Look, I just got to show you so you get a good grasp on it, because I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this before other than what I'm doing. There's probably someone doing it, but anyway, let's go. Before we get into the rest of the video, I want to talk about the next video that's coming up. Yep, we're doing the sub pod, the underground system that sits here right in my front garden. It is growing amazing plants, and these work even better than I thought. You can make your own DIY one if you want to. I've got a sub pod right here, and that's what the next video is going to be about. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, let's get out the back and give you a look at this system. It truly is amazing. Yep, so here it is, my worm farming system surrounded by bales filled with compost. It's got the big above ground worm farms there, and they're getting filled up with worms as we speak, and I've put worms, as I did the harvest the other day, in behind. Now these bins, which I'm going to show you now, are a part of the whole system, so the animals can't get in here, like, you know, like rats and different bandicoots and things, and eat my worms. So they can move out freely when they're ready to come out, but we're going to discuss about that right more. Let's bring the camera in closer, shall we? So I'll pull this off to reveal the worm farms. They're under here in these big bins. These are actually big compost bins. I call them biggest worm farms ever systems. And at the moment I've got the lids on, but there is air circulating. And I've been putting a few thousand worms into each one of these. So what happens is, as I'm releasing the worms into here, they breed and feed in this whole bin, turn it into worm castings. And the bigger ones, when they want to get out, they can escape through the bottom and move into this whole area here and start feeding on the carbon, the mushroom compost, and the cow manure. And I'm covering it with my bedding also at the same time. Now, as they breed and feed in here, they can scale out and grow as large as they like and turn this all into an ultimate composting system. If I want to, I can plan out all around it as well. But at the moment, I want to keep the bales nice and new, fresh. I don't want to cure them up because I want this to last for quite a long time. But eventually it'll all break down and become a whole part of this compost system, and I rebuild it again if I want to. Now I like to keep this all covered by shade cloth the best I can so I can lock the moisture in there. And this is a 70% shade cloth, so it's really, really dark. And the worms will come more to the surface when it's darker through the day. I can also take this lid off like this when it's raining, put this back over the top. The worms will still stay in the top, and if they want, the big ones can come up, move out and migrate out of this system when they're ready, if they don't want to go down underneath, and move into here. So I can capture the rain at the same time, allow all those little worms to get a good feed from the rain because they love it when it rains. And yeah, it's just a revolving loop. And I'll show you around the front here why I'm building out and extending out this way so you can get a deeper understanding. They're predicting rain, so I am going to take this off and allow the water to get in here, also into my new bedding. Now I'm building it out this way, and the reason being I'm building it out this way is because I want to extend it out. Now I may have to move this papaya tree that's right here, but I can put another one of these here, another one there, another one coming out, and I can just fill it full of compost along the way as I go and build out and scale out these systems. And about every 3 months I harvest from these, and I'm putting the worms back in as I'm harvesting from there and just recycling and making the loop better and better. So just to break it down to you, these systems compost on themselves. Those bales around the outside will eventually get broken down. They'll get reused in the garden or put back through the compost system or into worm farms. And this system here that's just sitting there behind me is just brewing and bubbling away. Now there are a few big trees that'll probably send roots off down that way, so I've got to keep cardboard underneath it. But when I move this system, I can actually just spread the rest of the material out, and I've created better ground and the health of the land on my place. As far as I'm concerned, I reckon it's a win-win situation. And if you're loving it, and you're loving this video, you love that system, and maybe you'd like to implement something like that too, let me know in the comments box down below. Remember, it's all about scale. You can have just a couple of above ground worm farms and a few of the carbon systems around it. You don't have to have bales. You can put wood chip all around the outside of it and just put your worms in there and plant around the bottom. There's lots of different ways you can do this at home to improve your land, farm worms, and grow lots of really, really cool plants. For me, it makes money at the same time because I'm making compost in 2 different ways. I'm making a worm casting, and I'm also mixing a blend in here that I'm heating up and breaking it down and making it for the locals here to grow amazing, amazing plants. So let me know what you think down in the comments box down below. And remember, we've got another video coming out. We're going to show you the outdoor underground worm farm, the sub pod. It is absolutely amazing, and the plants that are coming out of it, woo, phenomenal. All right, stay updated here at Marty's Garden. Lots more to come in the garden, in the worms, and with the exo organic systems. Have a great day, happy everything, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Here it comes, Flexi hand. Bye for now. Hey, Mr. Magpie, what have you caught in the garden? Oh, look at that, you've been doing some good hunting. Well done. Very proud of you. Big grasshopper looks like. Awesome. Marty Ware here from Marty's Garden. I've got an awesome video for you today. Yes, pro worm farm feeding tips. My friend Permy Pete, who does this professionally, shares all his knowledge in this really cool video. And hang towards the end, I'm going to share some tips also so you can get your worms growing and breeding like crazy. All right, let's watch the video, shall we?
So this is just my worm cafe, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I tend to show people a few different ways on how to use these. So this is the traditional tiered worm farm, so that people can actually see that
we've got night crawlers and red wigglers in here, don't we?
Yes, that's right. So I run a mix of all 4 worms. I do the African night crawlers, the Indian blues, the reds, and the tigers, and I find that it covers for the different times of year. So for summer, you've got your blue worms that really dominate, and then when it's too cool for them in the winter, you've got your reds and your tigers which come through. So
awesome.
It's a perfect mix all year round.
And we're going to the bottom layers here, aren't we?
Yep, so as the worms move down, you'll find that the food's eaten and eaten more and more. But what I've been teaching people is you do have the ability to feed the worms on every single level.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I was always feeding just top level.
No, well that's
I noticed they did eat at the bottom level, so but
yep. So as you can see, as
that's
we
pretty cool.
Yep. And then here's a night crawler here. So you can see that the night crawlers are a lot bigger worm. If you come out of there, buddy, there we go.
Come on, mate.
So
I'm not going to feed you to the yabbies.
Yep. So you can still see that they're active, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cold here.
Yeah.
That's a tropical worm.
Yeah. Right.
And then, so this is the real secret that I really try and help people out with, is that this is the bottom reservoir. Now this
is where I normally have the tank flowing out.
This is where you normally catch your liquids.
You're going to show me up here, mate. I've made a big mistake then, have I?
No,
I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn.
Right,
show me.
Just another way of doing it. And
okay.
For me, it's about having a safety zone, particularly in summer when the conditions can get too hot. When you're feeding the worms are going to go somewhere, and they tend to go down. Unfortunately for a lot of people, they've got their tap shut, and when the worms go down, they struggle and they end up dying in the liquid. Now there are
I've had that happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now there's a few things in here like these stages, or the lugs, the platforms that the worms can climb out, but I do find that when it's full of liquid, it tends to end up sending the farm a little bit smelly. So there is a very important thing that you have to keep in mind when you're doing this method, and that is you've got to keep the tank or the tap open. So having it raised and having a bucket to capture the leachate is still exactly the same as capturing the leachate in the bottom.
Right. What I've been teaching and what I do is I have my tap open the whole time, and about 2 or 3 times a week I throw a whole big bucket full. Yep. Just catch it, let it drip through. I throw about 2/3 of the out on the garden, and I pour the other bit through to keep the microbes and everything happy with the leachate coming through. Is that right?
And that works, Marty. That works really well. So the big difference that I would then offer, or the suggestion I would offer, is to fill the bottom just with a couple of inches of pea straw or loosen mulch, or something that is going to allow the worms to be able to go up and down. So as all that liquid comes down, it permeates through, and then what happens is you end up with a finer worm castings. So you end up with all the silt which comes from the top above.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
You can see that the worms are still thriving in here because they've got the right cover. The moisture is still freely draining, and I don't normally feed this section, but because it's winter and it's cold, I can feed quite happily without knowing that the worms are going to get too hot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's really a completely different castings because it's more of the sediment that comes down into this bottom reservoir.
There he is. Awesome stuff. I want to thank Pete for coming on the show. That was about 5 years ago we filmed that. Now what I've been teaching also is actually to take these taps off. You can feed on every level like that, but I believe feeding in the top part is the best, and still using the migration systems and putting more compost and stuff down below. I love that down the bottom where you can add some straw or add a brick or some of that so the worms can climb back up and they don't drown. And the feeding systems, as usual, don't overfeed because you're going to bring in pests and problems like that into the farm. So wait until all the food's nearly finished and then feed a little bit more. And, you know, obviously in the wintertime, you can feed it a little bit more because it doesn't heat up and get hot from the nitrogen breaking down in the worm farms. Now, we've got a little bit of a mini series going on here. So if you missed the last video to do with the worm bedding, so how Pete makes his professional worm bedding, I'm going to leave a link around here somewhere, up there somewhere, around here somewhere where you can watch that video. And we've got more content coming out around the micro farm here as I film around here. We've still got people working on the roads outside, so it's been a bit noisy. That's nearly over, but I'm going to have another video coming out to do with watering from Pete, and that'll be a shorter one than this one, and then some other really cool stuff coming up. So if you want to keep learning about organic gardening, worm farming is the way to go, and it's one great way to grow amazing food at home virtually for free. All right, I'm Marty Ware from Marty's Garden. Give us a big thumbs up if you haven't already, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now. G'day my friends, Marty, we're here from Marty's Garden. I'm at the wormery and I've got a 600 litre composting worm farm machine that I just put together about 10 days ago. It's full of my compost blend, which is mushroom, and a sawdust, a wood sawdust, which has had cow manure and chicken manure and all those type of amendments to break it down so eventually it becomes a compost. And it's in the back there. Now, I paid way too much for this thing at Facebook Marketplace. They bought it round. I was in a rush because I wanted to get things going, and I thought it was only 60 bucks. And I was like, when I was looking at it, I was like, this should really just be for free. They should be throwing this thing out. It's thin and flimsy. And then I said, here's your 60. Anyway, he goes, oh, no, I think it's 80. Well, really? Anyway, I looked on the phone. 80 bucks I want for this thing. I wanted to throw it out and put it in the bin. I thought, nah. You need to stick with this, Marty. This thing has got to pay for itself. And just go with it. Eventually you'll be cool. So, I put it all together. Still a bit flimsy. It's held together by some sticks. Got a bit of paper shoved in the side and stuff for stopping rodents and things coming in underneath. Had a bit of a first rodent attack one night, but then we sorted it out, and there hasn't been any comeback since. Now, I put probably about 500 worms in there. I'm adding a little bit more over time, so probably in a few more weeks there'll be 1,000 in there, and then we'll start adding more and more. It needs to have around about 5,000 to 10,000 operating out of that system, chewing through that compost. And that way, you know, I can be getting cocoons off the top, moving them around, scooping worms out as I need them, moving them around, even selling some compost worms if someone wants a few, and harvesting compost from down below and getting ready to bag it out, because yeah, we've started the microfarm again, which is really cool. And this baby here, this is the one where I started that video when I first moved in here, showing everyone how to set up a proper worm farm. So I'm going to leave a link up there and down below, the easy simple system to get started. And this has been my breeding box, man. I've pulled thousands out of this thing. It's been unreal. This has basically nearly set up my whole area, other than when I got in touch with Permy Pete and he sent me some worms, so I forgot about that. But other than that, this little baby, mate, she's been a ripper. And I've done a harvest out of all of them, the bottom, sold those worm castings, and we're ready to go into stage 2, which is the microfarm. So I'm really excited about that. Anyway, I'll take you down, get you a bit of a rundown on this bloke that, it's going to do the job. So here it is. It's a beauty, isn't it? Well, actually, tell you what, it's a piece of crap, but I'm going to get a lot of compost out of the thing. It's going to do its job. It's got a lid that opens up so I can get inside. I've got these like layers of egg cartons over the top. That's my egg carton method, so the water slowly seeps through it. It's about full up to about here, just above the air vents. It's got enough air going through it, even from the holes that are surrounded all around it, and I'm able to sort of pull that away and harvest out of the bottom. And I'll get a better system once we got a bit more money sort of coming in from the compost and things like that. We sold a few bags just on trial. They went out the door. We got a few more orders, but been busy with some other stuff. But hopefully this week I'll get some more made and get some out to a couple of customers. But that's really just the beginning of the micro farm here. It's just a part of it, getting it started. I'm not worried about producing huge volumes. It's more about getting the systems right and then slowly scaling out if I need to do so to sell more. So when you've got a worm farm, you can make a little bit of money from them on the side, and when you've got bits and pieces coming in from here and there like I do, it really helps. So I'm still a big advocate for worm farming, the no-dig systems, and using nature to build gardens. And look, we've got the sub pot at the back there. It's doing pretty good. Look, there's not a lot of worms. They sort of moved out, so I'm going to get some better shots once they sort of start functioning more in the feeding area. But the rocket around the outside that are planted in compost and worm cast are way bigger than the ones where I didn't really do the compost in the second layer. I found that you put the worm cast at the bottom of the bale, right on top of the bale, and then the compost on top. And that worked even better than putting the worm castings on top and allowing it to go through. The rocket here is just going mental. I've used about half as much as on the other bales. They're twice as big and growing twice as fast. Go figure, right? Once this all connects up and the worms all start moving through these bales and everything, and the microbes and the fungi and everything start hooking in there. I've even got a little mushroom popped up just down in there, and I'll show you that. Really cool, man. I'm talking about the living web moving into the garden, and as you can see, things are already happening. Anyway, you have a great day. I'm going to see you at the next video or the video podcast. Let me know what you think about those quick video podcasts. By the way, they're just a trial thing. I think YouTube are really going to push them out, and it's a joy doing them, bringing that different bit of content out that I can't film. Anyway, gotta go. Stuff to do. I'll see you at the next video real soon. I'll keep you updated on what's going on here at Marty's Garden. Bye for now. Here it comes, flexi hand. Oh man, someone's calling me. I've got stuff to do. Oh, okay. See ya. Oh, I'm flying in, guys, with some awesome content for you today, because on the micro farm here at Marty's Garden, we have a wormery. Yep, building it back out again. It's still in its developing stages, but you know what? I thought, instead of it waiting till it's super mega and all that type of stuff, let's talk about why I've got one and why maybe you want to start one. Firstly, for me, I make and sell compost, right? And worms just make compost gold. That's basically my solid opinion, one of the best fertilizers on the planet. And the reason being, because I don't think there's any other fertilizer that I know of that doesn't burn in large volumes seedlings and delicate plants, and has no smell, and contains lots of biology, and is a slow release fertilizer over 6 months, and it holds a lot of moisture and expands and contracts. There's just so many reasons to put it into compost and to create beautiful living soils. Now, that's one of the reasons why I have it. But for you, it could be you just want to compost more stuff, you want to recycle more, you want to actually have control of your food and what's going into your food, so you know what you're fertilizing your plants and garden with. You know, it could just be a variety of reasons, but you got to think about why it's for you, and then you decide what type of wormery you want to build out. So let's take a look at my one in this back space here, and I'll run down with you, yeah, my wormery, and I'm pretty sure you'll learn quite a lot out of it. So let's go, shall we? These are all my breeder bins down here for scaling up, and I started off with this first one here as my major breeder. Now I've pulled out probably around about 3,000 worms in here in the last month to build up populations in other places in the wormery, and this will always remain my main breeder box. Well, I don't know, it's hard to say always, but for now, for quite some time, this is the one that helps expand out all the farms, until eventually they're all working as good. I've got 2 or 3 maybe working as good as this one, and I do pull out of those as well to expand out the systems. But it's a good idea to have and start with one solid worm farm, get really good at worm farming, and then as they breed out and populating, they're filling up the farm, they get too many worms in here, they stop breeding, and then you need to start expanding out into other farms. And so as you're doing that, you then need to add other levels to your farms as well. But there's more of that if you go into the Worm Wranglers members area, and I'll leave a link down below for that, and you'll learn everything you need to know about establishing awesome worm farms and get up and running quick. So I'm not going to give a full tutorial about worm farming in this. There's lots of videos on my channel, and also the fastest way to learn is in those links, and just become a worm wrangler. Alright, let's move down and we'll just scan through the other farms, and we're going to take you to the big bad boy. Yep, that's a ripper, that one. So why have one of these larger systems? Well, eventually, when you're getting a lot of worms, you want to be able to offset into these big ones and allow them to sit for around about 3 months and harvest something really, really pure, something better than you'll get out of the small tiered farms. Now the reason I'm saying that is because the worms in here can actually get bigger than what they can in the tiered farms, and actually the earthworms from under the ground can come up and move through the system as well. The bacteria that's naturally in the ground gets into these systems, and also the fungi and the living web can move in it as well. So you end up with a more natural, well, I would say overall, a better quality compost. And your night crawlers, such as your Africans and Euros, depending on what type you've got. If you're lucky like me and you've got both and you live in the subtropics, awesome, because the Africans do really great in the summer and the Europeans just absolutely kill it in the wintertime. The Euros are just going mental in here at the moment, and they grow twice as big as what they will in a tiered farm. So it means they're eating twice as much, right? And getting much stronger, and they can live up to around about 4 years in one of these systems, which is really, really cool. One worm does a lot of work for you. Now as they're breeding out, they've got a lot of room to move as well, so they're not like trying to escape out of these little farms. They can just move into another section. Now I do have down below a built out windrow, so the big ones, if they want to get out, they've got somewhere to go, and then I can capture them and move them on into other farms or into other windrows and things like that. And they're actually working and turning over compost at the same time. So we've got the windrow attached to a hollow down below. I don't think there's any worms in there as of yet, but they are down in here. You can see them down below in this section. Maybe I'll have a look and see if we can see any. Let's get in here. If it's wet enough, there'll be some here. Nope, it's not wet enough, but you can see the material, how good that is. Just after 6 weeks, it's black, it's dark, it's really rich, and man, in about another month, this stuff, it's going to be so good. So that means I've got to wet it down more. It's moist in there, but not enough for the big boys to move down in there. It's just a little bit dry. Anyway, let's cover that back up again. So an above ground worm farm, yep, it's connected to all these bale gardens down below. The worms that are underneath are moving up through the earthworms, and the compost worms are working through this whole area. It's going to be shaded through the summer. So if you want to build out another type of system into your wormery that's working for you, and you've got spare worms, and you can harvest some compost, this is a really good idea. So I'm going to leave a video link up above here and down below in the description. Check it out, the video, it's connected. You'll really like that. These are a great addition to the wormery. Let's go look at the underground worm farms. This is a sub-pod worm farm. I've got 2 sections in it. One side's full. I've got tomatoes growing around the outside. They're going to cover it over into the summer period. If you're interested in underground worm farming, check out the link down below and have a look at the sub pod. Really interesting system to grow plants for free at home. So as I expand out the wormery, these above ground worm farms that will have plants growing over them through the summer are a part of my composting system. There's about 100 compost worms in here. I need to put about another 2,000 in here over the next month. I just ran a trial to see if they'd survive. They did survive, and now I'm going to expand out this whole microfarm with more of these windrows and bale areas like this to scale up. I'm just a bit worried about the dry season coming. It's going to be pretty dry up until summer, so that's a problem I'm going to have to deal with. So before you go, I just want to recap on what we just spoke about, because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Now, what I recommend is you start off with one worm farm. Learn how to do it really well. Become a worm expert for that one worm farm. And once they start expanding out, get your next one. When they start expanding out, get another, until eventually you've got more than you need, and then you can do something else with them around the garden. And if you want to scale out into a business, then you've already learned how to worm farm. Then you've got to learn the business side of things, which is a whole different story, right? But it's all about scale, taking good care of these worms and building them out and figuring out exactly what you want to do. As I said before, I run a compost business here. I sell compost from my home here to the locals to grow amazing plants, and that's one of the main reasons I do it, and my byproduct is that I get to do it here at my place, save money by growing all my beautiful food at home, which I plan on selling some of the veggies to the locals in the very near future using my new cart that I'm going to be cruising around with. So stoked to be doing that. Hopefully you've got some value from it. If you've got any questions, leave them down below. There's so much to this, I could probably be standing there for an hour. No one's going to watch an hour video, but it's just a breakdown on why you should have one and some how-tos to get started. All right, have a great, happy day. Oh, I'm going to get tongue-tied again now. I'm saying God bless at the end because I really want God to bless you. All right, have a great day. God bless, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now. Tell you what, this is exciting, guys. The next stage of Marty's Garden worm farm. Yep, the pods, well, not the pods, they're the biggest worm farm ever systems, set up with compost around the outside of them, put with bales around the outside to hold it all together because they can break down, get turned into mushroom compost again, not mushroom compost, but get recomposted again, use them as grow beds on top like the bale system, and eventually it'll just all connect up to the forest, the fruit trees, the whole lot, and I'll have this interconnected web of fungi, great biology, and all the worms just building this soil profile. So every time it rains, it just soaks down well, and it's just chewing up all that humus and turning it into nutritious plant food. And I don't have to worry about buying stuff. I absolutely love this system. And beautiful thing about it is behind me, these big pods, well, I should keep calling them pods, they're not pods, they're big compost bins that hold anywhere from 175 to 400 litres, the ones you can get. They make awesome worm farms that are connected to the ground because the plastic absolutely, it condensates, and they like to climb up and down the plastic on the side, grabbing the moisture. They move through the material, chewing it up, turning it into beautiful worm castings. The fungi moves through the bottom and actually attaches itself to the carbon material. We end up with a beautiful blend of compost that I can sell to the locals here. And as far as Brisbane they come, so yeah, 2 hours drive, an hour and a half drive to come and pick up some of these compost. And if that's you, thank you so much for your support so far. Now, this type of micro farming has been in development by myself for quite a few years now, and it's taken me a while to get there. And you don't really need a huge space to do this. And there's so many ways you can go with the worm farming type of things. You can do the composting like me, you can sell compost worms, you can sell worm castings, you can sell the juice, and you can use it, all those byproducts as well, to build and establish a garden at the same time. And while you're building and establishing a garden, you're growing food, so your costs are just coming down and down and down and down and down and down and down, and you're living healthy because your food quality is going up and up and up and up and up. And I think that's just an absolute bonus. Now, if you've got any questions about this, let me know in the comments box down below. Love to share more about the story of what's going on here as I'm expanding out the little micro farm here and turning it into a little food forest paradise right here at Mullumbimby in New South Wales, Australia. Also, I'm building the Worm Wranglers 2.0 course, so that's really exciting, and that's going into the members area, the community, over at my new website where we've got like a Facebook social feed and areas to put courses and things like that. The guys in there, they're just rolling along and making some great stuff and sending me out content of what they're doing in their yards and their progress and their success, and it's really great to see. So that's going into the course. Let me know if you'd like to see anything in that course. So it's going to be a beginner, then going into intermediate, and then to more advanced stuff eventually. And it's all going to be inside there. So looking forward to seeing you. There's a link in the description down below if you want to jump in early and check it out while it's being built. I may share the progress as we go, but it's definitely in the pipeline. It's being started, and super stoked to do that. All right, thank you so much for coming on this amazing journey with me. It's been very eye-opening, and we're really just at the beginning stages here. Anyway, have a great day. Happy gardening / worm farming. God bless. We'll see you at the next video real soon. Look at this hand. Look at this hand. See this hand? Flexi hand. Bye for now. G'day my friends, Marty here from Marty's Garden, and today we've got a very special video, yes, about tomatoes. We're comparing the tomatoes that are growing right next to my underground worm farm to the ones that I've got planted in the ground. And it's pretty exciting. And look at these are special prizes. Oh, so good, so yummy. Totally delicious. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Plant 1 is right beside my bale garden here, and is around about, yay high if I squat down. I'm just a little fella. Yeah, it's doing pretty good. I'm fairly happy with it. Anyway, let's go look at plant 2. So here's plant 2, the same variety, special price, nice big heads on them, plenty of fruit down below, not so many up above. And this one gets full sun, planted in compost. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about plant number 3 and the comparison between the 3 in the rest of this video. So what happens when you place a tomato plant right next to an underground worm farm? Well, you get something like this. Actually, these, I'm not sure which plants they come from. We've got 3 plants, one that's growing right next to the worm farm, and I've got 2 that I've planted around the outside of my compost bay, just straight in a nice big hole of compost that I'm making here at home, just to show people when they're coming in how well it grows stuff. And the comparison's been, well, I wouldn't say there's a huge amount. It's about 30% difference. Now, not so much in the size of the plants. The size of the plants are pretty much the same, but the amount of fruit that I'm getting off it is around about 30% more. I've got like another whole head of fruit, and that plant next to the worm farm doesn't get as much sun as the others. Now, I've got to be absolutely 100% honest here. I haven't been really nice and caring to these plants. They've fallen over a few times. I forgot to tie them up. I've been super busy and just didn't really take care of them as much as I should have. I've had too many projects going on at once, but we are getting there. And look, we've been harvesting for around about a week now, and you know, we have taken fruit off each of these plants already, and they are so tasty. Like, you know, fruit, it is a fruit tomato, and just the water and the juices that pour out of these things and the flavor is nothing like it. Now, this is a special prize tomato. It's what they call a determinate tomato. It only grows to a few feet, produces a handful of fruit, and then it will die off. Now, my guess, I'll probably get another hand on each one of these plants. I need to get more seed in the ground and start the next generation of organic ones, because I want to grow these and then, you know, give them to people, sell little plants and things like that that are used to this area around here and are growing specifically for around here, and they'll get better and better over time. Now, what's the benefits of growing right next to a worm farm? Well, you've not only got, so when you're watering the worm farm, the water's actually leaching out and it's producing nutrients for the plants. You've also got the bigger worms. When they migrate out, they're coming out and moving in around the root zone, dropping their castings, tilling and moving that biology around. It's building up the living web. Earthworms, local earthworms are moving in as well and interacting with the whole system. The fungal movement's moving in, and the worm farms just kick it off much quicker. And I believe that next season it'll be even better than that, especially because we're going to get the seed from this and keep on going with them. It's pretty amazing. Now, what I'd love to hear is, are you worm farming in the ground? What plants are you doing with it? Have you done tomatoes? Are you growing anything next to a worm farm and getting better success than you're seeing outside of the garden and quicker results? If so, I'd love to hear what you've got to say down below. Now, before you go, we've also got the Marty's Garden Connect website, and that has been influenced by this outside garden here, where we've been connecting with the locals, and I'm like, I want to connect with my community much more. There's a chat box in there for everyone to chat and connect. There's also a worm farming connect area space, a feed. We've got a community space feed. I'm building a space for the locals here to come and have their own feed, and then we're putting worm farming and organic gardening courses in there. Now, I know a few of you are probably holding off going, well, we've got to wait until there's a bit more content, but I'm going to be shooting some behind the scenes stuff real soon, and that's going into the worm farming connect area. and then I will be also filming and putting it into the other spaces that created for the organic gardening, no dig stuff and that type of thing, for growing amazing fresh food like this. So there will be a link in the description to head there and check it out. There's a free trial for you. So but the early days yet, the early 7 days, I don't know if it's going to be the perfect free trial, but if you get in there and start helping it grow, I believe it's going to be one of the best organic gardening spaces on the planet for learning how to grow food at home. Fresh food that you know hasn't had any sprays or nasty chemicals on it, and when you eat it, it's 100% organic. Don't panic, it's organic, that's what they say. Anyway, thank you so much for your support. Love to hear from you guys, and I'd also love to see you over at Marty's Garden Community Project. We've got 3 members in there now. Cheryl Hawker, thank you so much. We've also got Jim Fisher, and we've also got Terry Browning. I remembered all those names, and I'm learning more about you guys. Thanks for sharing with me and coming into the Marty's Garden Community Project. Linked in the comment box, link in the description down below, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Remember, I'm going to be putting content in there. I'm shooting videos for those feeds as we speak inside the community project. Actually, yeah, the worm farming one. So worm farming space, or whatever it's called in there. Yeah, the worm farming gardening space. I'm shooting behind scenes videos and photos and things. I'm going to be dropping them in there real soon. Alright, hopefully I'll see you there. Have a great day. Happy gardening. Happy everything, I usually say. God bless, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now. Don't forget to check out that one. Remember, if you haven't seen it already, I'm going to leave it around here somewhere. Ciao for now.